I've watched at least 50 videos the past month about AI, and not one of them was made for you. Welcome to Uncluttered Tech. My name's Jason. Let's get started. The biggest gap that I've seen with most of these AI setup content videos is that they make the assumption that you're going into the video already knowing what they're talking about, whether it's understanding Notion databases, Obsidian setups, terminal basics, web hosting. That's not non-coder, that's developer using AI to go faster. Contrast this with AI builds you a $10,000 a month website claims. Yes, AI can write code, but you still need to know what a domain is, what is web hosting, how to set up DNS in order to get it all work. There are some things that AI is really good at for non-coders: writing, editing, researching, summarizing, and really asking AI questions to learn about the things that you're not good at. I have to set some expectations. AI lowers the skill level, but it doesn't remove it completely. You still need to understand what you're asking it for or what you're asking of it. With over 20 years in IT, what I've realized is I can translate what the tool actually does versus the hype. And that's why I've decided to make this video, is to give my tips on how to get past what you see with all this content. So tip number one is don't fuss with all the different models out there. Pick one model to start with. Do a little bit of research. Find out, what models are good for the different types of things you're looking to get into, and then pick one and master it. And I don't mean master it like you would master carpentry. I mean really just take the time to learn it, understand how it works, learn its features, and build with it. And because that's really the only way you're going to get used to an application or a tool is by using it. And like it or not, AI is just another very sophisticated tool. Pick one. If you use Google services, maybe Gemini is the one to get started with because it's already built into a lot of the services that you would already use. If you are already familiar with ChatGPT, because that's what all your friends are talking about, no harm in getting started with that. Myself, I use Claude. I was brought onto it obviously through watching YouTube videos, and in testing it, for me personally, it's the one that I've had the most success with. Tip number two is start free. You won't be able to get as much done on the free versions. That's, just the nature of the business. They need to make money in order to stay in business. But you can get a lot more done than you think you can with the free versions. What ends up happening is, you'll get a message saying that to continue, you need to bump up to the next version or whatever. But there's always like a reset window on they're all different in different ways. But eventually you'll get back, it'll just start working again. Usually the windows are about 5 hours. So, if you start at 9 and you run through it all in, by 10:30, then by 2-3 o'clock, it'll have reset and you can use it again. So yeah, start free. And if you realize that free is just not enough usage for you, then look at investing in the monthly plans. But don't jump to the max, kind of go up each tier one by one, depending on how much you really need it. Tip number three, to get the best possible output, you need to give it the best possible input. So the way you do that is twofold. There's the prompts that you give it. So you want them to be short, you want them to be concise, and you want them to be very specific. And that's true that's true throughout any AI you're going to use. The second thing that helps with the input is what are called context files. Each application has its own memory system. You have settings in each application where you can give it like a brief prompt that it will always read at the beginning of every chat. And so you can give it like some pointers about yourself, about your tone, about what you're expecting out of it. But you can also use that prompt to have it read these context files. And I'm not going to go into detail about how to set those up in this video, but there's a number of videos out there on how to build these context files. It's not hard. It's actually surprisingly easy. I would highly encourage you to take the time to really build them out, because what I've realized is the better the context that you give it, the better the input, the better the output. And the better the output also means the less usage that you need to, that it needs, or that it uses up to give you an output. So if you're still on the free plans, and you really have a good input, you'll tend to be able to get a lot more usage out of it than if you're just asking it for any basic question and you're using it as like a chat interface. That brings me to tip number 4. Don't use chat as a chat. And what I mean by that is really get good at structuring your prompts and try and limit how much conversation you're having. One thing I've realized, you get kind of used to this idea of brainstorming with the AI. It's actually really good at like kind of getting you into that workflow. But you end up wasting a lot of time, a lot of cycles, and a lot of usage that way. So try and stick to specifics and really getting the output that you need at that moment. So, if you are, if you're writing a blog post and you're looking for a solid hook, don't spend time brainstorming the idea. Give it the blog post that you wrote and have it go through it to give you the best hook for that blog post. It'll make for a much better output. You'll get what you need out of it, and it won't use up a lot of tokens that way. Because that's how AI works, right? Is with these tokens. You think of tokens like words, it's like back in the old days with SMS messages and text messages where you used to pay for text messages by the message. That's how it works with AI, is you're paying for the text input and output that go into and out of it. I mean, I'm really simplifying it here. But yeah, it's how it works. So the less you use, the longer you can use it for. And especially if you're on the free tiers, it goes a long way. Let's see. The next tip is really just to not get caught up in the hype. It's really easy to watch all these videos and want to learn all these different tools and, this one came out and it's this much better than this one. Okay, let's switch and use that one. So yeah, it's, who that's good for? That's good for the people making those videos. But I can pretty much guarantee having, actually doing these videos is the guys that are producing these videos aren't switching out their tools every day. Frankly speaking, you don't have time for it. I'll take myself as an example. Every day that I spend playing with the tool is a day I'm not producing something that can make me money. and it's just a waste. So really, it kind of flows back to tip number one, which is pick something and stick with it. Just don't let the flood of video and the flood of news kind of sway you into trying to get the better one or the slightly cheaper one, because at the end of the day, you're probably going to end up just in that cycle of like never ending cycle of trying new things and either realizing they're not as good and then going back to the tool you originally used in the first place, or you end up with something new, but all the time you spent moving to that new thing is time you could have spent either making the old thing as good or producing something that that you didn't because you were changing tools around. So yeah, so this is where I'm going to leave you off. I hope you found this interesting. I'd love to hear about what your experience has been watching all these videos and what you feel about, the way AI is going today. So leave a comment below. Hope to see you next time. Like, subscribe, and talk to you soon.